The Chicago Bears offense is not off to such a great start early in training camp, and I'm here to let you all know it's okay. Now is not the time to panic. And that's part what we hearing from the last practice. Tyson Bajan is putting on a strong case for QB2. We got an undrafted rookie rising up the ranks, and Montez Sweat is wreaking havoc on the Chicago Bears offense. We're going to talk about that, break it all down, plus a little bit more. But you gotta hit the music first.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears. You got me today hosting. I'm here, right here in the flesh, Bobby. So if you tuned in, locked in, and love talking Chicago Bears football, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Before we get into the content, I know you all are thinking, hey, where's the mailbag? All right, guys, at the time of this recording, I got to make it quick. I got to make it brief. And because I got to go take care of some family stuff. But me and C Dub are going to lock in and get ready and bring that mailbag episode to you on Sunday. But hey, let's talk about Friday's practice and talk about what has occurred. And Friday practices did not get off to such a great start. We talked about some incompletions for Caleb Williams. There are some things mentioning that there's some incomplete passes being forced by Montez Sweat and other defenders on the Chicago Bears defense. And my man's Caleb Williams struggled a little bit in the red zone, throwing back-to-back interceptions on 7-on-7. And I'm going here to say, y'all, as y'all already know, on Chicago Bears Central, we are the ones that try to place logic, even though there might be some times to where we be off our rocker. And right now is just a conversation to say, don't panic. Relax a little bit. It is early on in training camp. We've only had a practice for a couple days. It is not time to panic. Me personally, we already know. I don't really care about the glitz and the glamours in training camp. Obviously, you will like to hear some of that stuff, but a lot of the times in years past, we have heard, man, Caleb Williams and Tyler Scott is having a connection. Man, DJ Moore caught an outstanding pass. Man, this guy has did something extravagant with its off-platform throws. I don't really care for none of that right now. Obviously, I want to come out here and when I'm reading my stuff and I'm catching up and tracking what's taking place at training camp, obviously you don't want to hear everything be so bad. But I'm on the side of I want to see what happens when the season rolls around. I want to see how the offense look when the Chicago Bears take their, place on the field in the preseason and how does the offense operate. Right now, the offense they're getting off to a brand new start. You're talking about new system. You're talking about new installations. You're talking about a number of new players that is going to change everything schematically for the Chicago Bears offense. So now is not the time to sit up here, throw your arms up in the air, go ahead and have a hissy fit. It's time to just let things play out. I believe that continuity, that cohesion that we want is not going to come until later in the season. Obviously, you don't want the Chicago Bears to go out there and completely crap the bed with everything that they're doing offensively. Obviously, you want to hear more good things about Caleb Williams and how he's doing things for the offense, but I think that's going to come with a little bit more time. I believe that Ben Johnson, from what he's shown and from what we've heard from necessary players, you have to sit there and say, this man is a maniac when it comes to details. You got people already saying, well, he had to throw first team off the field already. Okay, so what? You should be happy that the head coach is throwing their ass off of the field for not being prepared and not being ready to execute, because good football teams start to build winning cultures right now during this time. And a lot of the times in the past, we've sat there and allowed or at least read that coaches let things fly. And it's a good thing that this head coach, at least for the moment, is not allowing things to fly. So then when you come out and now they're getting their foot under themselves, and now the execution coming out of the huddle, and now they're lining up correctly. You're not hearing nobody thrown out, at least for the moment. Now we can take another step and say, what is Caleb Williams' cadence? Is he going through his progression? Is he getting the ball out on time? Is he being accurate? Those things are what's going to have to transpire over time. It's a step by step process when you come to talking about Caleb Williams. So don't panic. Let's let it play out a little bit. If we expected Caleb Williams to come into this new system, this new scheme, and just light the world on fire in 2, 3 days, you are losing your mind. I'm not falling for the highlight reels anymore. Do I love to see them? Absolutely. But I seen a lot of highlight throws, a lot of highlight catches and runs and interceptions and pressures for the last few years being a part of this and prior just being a Chicago Bears fan, and it hasn't translated to anything. So let's all calm down. Let's all pump the brakes. It is not time to panic. Allow these young players to go out there and execute and learn, and let's at least give this coaching staff a chance. We gave Matt Eberflus a chance way too many times. Let's not turn our heads and, walk away from this situation just yet. Let's allow these guys to get coached up. Let's allow these guys to see what the hell is actually going on the football field for themselves. So hopefully that can translate to us losing our minds on game day because we kicking teams' asses. Let's just be a little bit more patient. I know there's not a lot of patience in Chicago, but let's try to have a little bit of patience right now because training camp just started. But with Friday's practice, the way that it ended, it did end on a positive note with Roma Dunze and Zacchaeus. Y'all know I'm gonna screw up the first name. With Zacchaeus ending practices on a high note with a successful 2-minute drill. And what is coming out of that from these last few days is that Tyson Bagent has been putting on. So for my Bajan baddies, y'all get y'all dub in the chat, as my man C Dub say. Dubs in the chat. But he has been spending some time with the third team offense, and on Friday's practice, he threw 3 touchdowns during red zone work, 2 easy scores to running back Roshan Johnson and receiver Samori Toure, which they call was a throw to where he was absolutely threading the needle. It's an interesting conversation to talk about it, and they even got Ian Willer involved on that when he threaded the needle on that pass. So excuse me on that, but we have that discussion on, is Tyson Bagent going to be around a little bit longer? And it's not to say that he's a bad quarterback. It's to say that this young fella has a different type of fire build up in him. And I ain't going to lie, I know it's a bit contradictory to what we just talked about when it comes to the highlights and all that stuff, but he looked like he ready to go. I mean, he's always been prepared. He's always been ready to work. It's just that sometimes people get a little over themselves when they say he can absolutely lead us to the promised land. We don't know that, but what we do know is that Caleb Williams, the starter, and Tyson Bagent is battling for QB2, and it's a good thing that he's showing up well. Another offensive player that's catching people by surprise that can be the training camp darling. We had that for my man Ian Willer last year before he went out with that ACL tear, and now we got another guy that's stepping up to the fray, undrafted rookie JP Richardson. He's put together 3 solid practices for the Chicago Bears unit, and he's being the talk of a lot of beat reporters, pretty much, hey, showing up. I say everybody in training camp has an opportunity. That's how I always looked at it. If you come in here and you take care of business, if you don't make the team that you go through your training camp with, if you excuse me, if you put together good film, you will be able to thrive and potentially get picked up somewhere else to where you receive a better opportunity. So for my mans to go out there and do what he's absolutely been doing, Hey, go ahead and put on, because there's a lot of people that we've thrown out there and say, hey, you're a potential cut candidate. And one of the wide receivers that we talked about is Tyler Scott. I seen him in a few clips putting in some work, but it's not going to be just about clips and putting in the work. It's going to have to come when you receive your opportunity in preseason, whether that's in the second half or simply in the fourth quarter, depending on when the coaches want to put you out there. What do you do with that time? Do you go and make plays only for yourself, or do you go make plays for yourself and the team? Are you helping us impact the game in a winning way, or are you being a detriment to the team? Because I remember a couple years ago we looked at Smith Marset, who came on over with the Chicago Bears, put on a couple of moves and stuff, and then guess what he did in the actual game? Caught the ball instead of going out of bounds. He got it snatched away in versus Minnesota, and that was the determining factor in the game. We want team players here. Yes, we want you to go out there and thrive and put on a show, but how do you effectively help the team in a positive way is always going to be the determining factor when these young guys come in as undrafted rookies, as late round picks. How are you going to impact the game to where you can get on the field, or when someone goes down and we call you up, we can trust that we're not going to miss a beat. We're not going to say that you can live up to the expectations of a Rome Odunze or DJ Moore, but how do you come in to where this offense can still operate at a level that is not going to hold us back? That's what it's going to come down to for my man's JP Richardson. And according to Courtney Cronin, Richardson made back-to-back catches during team periods with the third team offense, and he's put together a good 3-day stretch at the start of training camp. She also mentioned he is becoming a training camp darling. Hey, put the work in, you reap the benefits. Put the work in, you reap the benefits. And you already know if you're grabbing these kind of eyes early on, right now at the start of training camp, the coaches are going to be anxious to see what you can do during game, during, you know what I'm saying, when the Chicago Bears line up and face two other teams during training camp and have those joint practices. When he gets the opportunity in those ones, they're gonna take their break, and then you want to see a little bit more happen for the twos and the threes. If he's called up, if he's able to execute, that's gonna be a few checks, that a few pluses in the box for my man JP Richardson. So go out there, continue to do what you do, because just because you went undrafted, just because you went later in the round, does not mean that you don't have a place in this NFL. It always comes down to determination, grit, and how do you effectively impact the game. Because if you can go out there and do some things like that, you can carve out a way for yourself. So we'll see. I'm rooting for you, young man. Keep shining. Let's get it. I'm always rooting for the underdog. Y'all know me. I'm a root for the underdog, but we also are going to call it how we see it over here in Chicago Bears Central, man. That's just how it is. But hey, before we get up out of here, we got to talk about Montez Sweat. According to a couple sources, he is making his presence known in the backfield. According to a couple people, Montez Sweat was harassing Caleb Williams off the right edge a couple times during 11-on-11 work on Friday, showcasing his ability to get in the backfield and disrupt the quarterback and force incompletions. Obviously, love to hear it. But what is going to help everybody feel a little sense of comfort once the season roll around? We're not talking about disruption. We're not talking about forcing incompletions. That will be a part of the discussion, but we want him to get home. Bring home the jelly. That's what we want to see Montez Sweat do. We want to see Montez Sweat bring home the pizza, goddamn. We want to see Montez Sweat put every single quarterback on the ground in crucial moments to set the tone, to help us feel a sense of relief like, hey, we paid that money on, we good to go. That's how we looking at Montez Sweat. Again, it is early on, so I'm not going to get over my skis. I'm not going to think too far ahead, but it's good that Montez Sweat appears to be healthy. It appears that he is ready to go, because that's what we need for this defense to thrive This defense needs a pass rush that is disruptive. Disruptive and angry and mad. And anytime the Chicago Bears come to your house or you come to our house, you in for a dogfight. Because I've been saying it all off season. I've been saying it all off season. The NFC North, to me, is wide open. It's wide open in my personal opinion. You look at the Detroit Lions, you say they took some major losses. Losses to the OC, DC, a couple players to their offensive line, players on their defensive line. They are vulnerable. A lot of people talking about Green Bay Packers and the roster that they have that is very young, that has some talent, but I am not too so concerned about that roster. And what the hell did I tell you? I'm gonna tap myself on the back because y'all ain't heard me spit my G in a long time. I'm gonna tap myself on the back because some people call me a hater because after that first season where they start glazing Jordan Love, I said, bro, let's keep it a buck. It was only the end of the season, and if we want to keep it a buck, it was the last 4 games versus teams that was mid, including us. But we get back on track. But we don't know about my man's JJ McCarthy in Minnesota. So if the Chicago Bears come out here and handle business and set themselves up, and y'all see I'm dealing with that fly. If they set themselves up, and they should be able to be in the thick of things when it's all said and done, because nobody is want to continue to win the offseason without winning games. We don't want to go down that route anymore. We want to win actual football games over here in Chicago. We want to have C-Dub live calling wins. We want to present you all with great content after wins, breaking things down, talking about how we can improve. What would the future look like? And building sustained success and never being satisfied. Never being satisfied until we get that big ass trophy in the city of Chicago. Y'all know the silver one with the football at the top. That's what we pushing for. But it all starts now. It all starts in the off season. We cannot get too thirsty. We cannot drink the Kool-Aid. Prepare the cup. I'm going to keep throwing this analogy out there. Prepare the cup. Put the water in there. Put the Kool-Aid pack. Don't drink it because you know it's nasty. Wait to add the sugar until the Chicago Bears give us something to root for. We going to be cheering them on all season long. But for us to put that sugar in the Kool-Aid and feel good, we need wins, bro. We need wins. That's what it ultimately comes down to it. So I'm happy for Montez Sweat. I'm happy that he's healthy and he seemed like he back on track. But it all comes down to week 1 through week, 18 now? Y'all know it's so many. They keep adding games. But that's what it comes down to, man. But hey, again, never just steps at a time, man. Steps at a time when it comes down to this training camp talk. We're going to see for what it is. I'm going to be more anxious to see how the Chicago Bears compete versus the others in joint practices. I think that'll be a good gauge to see how far along we are and, just get a little bit of a better feel of where we're heading. Doesn't determine everything, but gives us a little bit of a more better feel of what our team is going to actually look like once the games start. But hey, last year we started off 4-2, went to London and left our soul in London. So hopefully the sorcerer brought the soul back to the Chicago Bears so we can go out there and win. Thank God we ain't playing in London this year. Thank God. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. Again, y'all make sure y'all stay locked in and be tuned in because that mailbag episode will be dropping on Sunday. For the meantime, in between time, y'all make sure y'all enjoy y'all weekend. So the voicemail line is definitely still open. You still have time to get your call in. The number to do so is 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears. We gonna holler at y'all. We appreciate y'all. And y'all already know. Shot-town up and bet down, baby. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.